What if those entrusted with your safety are the very ones who become the architects of your suffering? Imagine a young boy, vulnerable, trusting, subjected to unspeakable torment within the very walls that should have protected him. A mother and brother, bound by blood, stand accused of committing horrors so unimaginable they defy comprehension. This isn't fiction. It's the haunting, tragic reality of Timothy Ferguson's short life and untimely death. As we uncover the chilling details of his story, questions arise that demand answers. How did a 15-year-old boy diagnosed with autism and ADHD become the target of such cruelty? What drove a mother and son to inflict such torment on their own flesh and blood? How did the community remain blind to the unimaginable horrors happening behind closed doors? And what secrets lie hidden in the evidence, waiting to reveal the truth? Prepare to journey into a darkness where each revelation cuts deeper, where the line between love and malice is razor thin, and where the pursuit of justice becomes a tangled web of confusion, heartbreak, and bitter truths. This is the tragic, horrifying story of Timothy Ferguson, a case that will challenge your understanding of human nature and leave you questioning the very heart of what it means to care. To keep chasing cases along with us, give us a like and don't forget to subscribe. Norton Shores, Michigan, a community that epitomized suburban tranquility. Among its residents was Timothy Ferguson, a 15-year-old boy navigating the challenges of autism and ADHD. Despite his conditions, Timothy was known for his gentle demeanor and a smile that could light up a room. Timothy's life, however, was far from the idyllic facade his neighborhood presented. His mother, Shanda Vander Ark, and older brother, Paul Ferguson, were the pillars of his world. Yet behind closed doors, the dynamics of this household were anything but nurturing. Shanda, a woman entrusted with the care of her son, was now under scrutiny for reasons that would ripple through the community. Paul, at 20 years old, was expected to be a guiding figure for his younger brother. Instead, allegations suggest a role that is both disturbing and unfathomable. In July 2022, the veneer of normalcy shattered. Reports emerged detailing the unimaginable suffering Timothy endured. Allegations of prolonged torture at the hands of his mother and brother painted a grim picture of his final days. Shanda Vander Ark faced charges of first-degree murder and child abuse. Paul Ferguson was charged with first-degree child abuse. The specifics of their alleged actions were so heinous that they left the community grappling for understanding. Timothy's death was attributed to starvation and hypothermia. At the time of his passing, he weighed a mere 69 pounds, a stark indicator of the prolonged neglect and abuse he suffered. The revelation of Timothy's suffering sent ripples through Norton Shores. Neighbors and friends struggled to reconcile the image of the family they thought they knew with the horrifying reality that had been unveiled. To the neighbors, the family seemed like any other family, and no one ever imagined something so terrible was happening right next door. As the community mourned, questions arose about the systems in place to protect vulnerable individuals like Timothy. How had these signs gone unnoticed? Could more have been done to prevent this tragedy? The legal proceedings against Shanda Vander Ark and Paul Ferguson commenced, drawing significant media attention. Prosecutors presented evidence aiming to shed light on the extent of the abuse Timothy endured. The defense, however, painted a different picture, attempting to challenge the prosecution's narrative and introduce elements of doubt. They tried urging the jury to consider all aspects and not be swayed by emotions, arguing that every individual is entitled to a fair trial. As the trial progressed, investigators delved into the family's history, seeking to uncover motives behind the alleged abuse. Financial records, personal correspondences, and testimonies from acquaintances began to piece together a narrative of control, resentment, and a tragic failure of familial bonds. Among the findings were troubling exchanges between Shanda and family members, hinting at a history of resentment toward Timothy's conditions and care requirements. These messages revealed a mother overwhelmed and seemingly embittered by her circumstances. According to a family friend, Shanda used to talk about how difficult it was to raise Timothy. At the time, it just sounded like venting, but now they can't help but wonder if it went far beyond that. But resentment wasn't the only factor investigators uncovered. Financial strain appeared to play a significant role. Court documents revealed mounting debts, raising questions about whether the alleged neglect was tied to an inability or refusal to properly care for Timothy's needs. For someone like Timothy, who was both autistic and had ADHD, routines, structure, and care are essential. The absence of those things can feel like abandonment, a silent cry for help that no one hears. Neighbors reported they rarely saw Timothy outside, a stark contrast to his earlier years. Isolation became the defining feature of his final months, raising the haunting question, was this avoidable? The prosecution presented evidence that painted an unflinching picture of Timothy's reality. Photographs revealed a sparsely furnished, cold room with little more than a thin mattress. Medical experts testified that Timothy's physical state was consistent with prolonged starvation and neglect. Timothy Ferguson suffered not just from a lack of food and warmth, but from a complete absence of love and care in his final days. This was not mere negligence. This was calculated cruelty. The defense argued that the conditions were a result of poor mental health and external pressures attempting to mitigate the accusations of intent. This family was struggling under immense pressure. They claimed what happened was tragic, but it was not premeditated. Let us remember that this is a court of law, not of emotion. As the trial neared its conclusion, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. The jury deliberated for days, grappling with the gravity of the charges and the overwhelming evidence presented. When the verdict was read, emotions ran high. Shanda Vander Ark was found guilty of first-degree murder and child abuse and sentenced to life without parole. Paul Ferguson was convicted of first-degree child abuse and received a lengthy prison sentence. For Timothy, justice was served, but for those who knew and loved him, no sentence could undo the pain or bring back the life lost. This case highlights the critical need for stronger safeguards for vulnerable children. Timothy Ferguson's death must not be in vain. In the wake of Timothy's story, conversations around child welfare intensified. Lawmakers proposed reforms to better monitor at-risk families and ensure timely interventions. Timothy's story is a stark reminder of the responsibility we all share in protecting the most vulnerable among us. It's a call to action, a plea to never turn a blind eye. Timothy Ferguson's life was tragically short, but his legacy has the power to inspire change. As we close this chapter, let us carry his story as a beacon of awareness and empathy. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, don't stay silent. Speak up, reach out, and be the voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. This case serves as a haunting reminder of how seemingly perfect families can hide the darkest of secrets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, as we'll be bringing more stories like this to your screen. Another case unraveled, but many more to come. There are hundreds of stories out there like these, and they're always worth the chase. So make sure you're subscribed and ready for the next one by hitting that bell. From all of us at Chasing Cases, stay vigilant, stay curious, and keep chasing cases.